Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Over Under. I'm your host, Rylan Turner, joined as always by Kyle Joseph. Kyle, how are you?
I'm good. I have a concept here for this one that's going to be a little bit different, but we're going to see how it goes.
Yeah, I'm excited for this. In this edition of Over Under, we are buying, selling, and watching WWE superstars in 2026. We are sticking to just WWE, yes?
I have a few AEW people in here as
Okay.
well,
Okay.
just because, but it's mostly WWE, but there is a few AEW ones that I wanted to get in because I'm interested in a few of them, and they appeared on the PWI list. It's mostly what I'm basing this on, and we'll see how that goes. I've got it's just a list of 25 wrestlers is what we're doing here.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm excited to get into it, Kyle. Cool concept to start the year. So let's get right into it.
Basically, as a quick explainer for the concept, we are either buying stock in, selling stock in, or watching, which is our basically our version of push stock in wrestlers going into 2026. This is a bit more kayfabe than I think we're usually doing. I don't think this is like, oh, I expect this wrestler to wrestle way better in 2026 than they did in 2025 necessarily. It's probably more along the lines of, are they going to have a good year in terms of, wins, success? Are we going to be excited about them and be talking about them at the end of the year as like, wrestler of the year candidate or whatever it is?
Right.
As we get into our awards, are we feeling good about them, or are we saying 2025 was a high water mark and they're going to start to backslide a bit? So I've got from the women's list, I've got 8 wrestlers that came up. So we're going to start with them. And a recent return, number 12 on the PWI women's list last year, was Liv Morgan.
I think if you're not always buying stock in Liv Morgan, you're making a mistake. This lady has transformed herself from somebody who was, I guess, for me, like the least exciting in the group of the Riot Squad at the time, just based on the fact that her experience wasn't there yet, to a top female in the WWE women's division, whether we're talking about Raw, SmackDown, NXT. She's always at the top of the card. She's interesting. She's back, full time after a pretty scary injury. So, and she came back fairly quick too. So, again, I think if you're not always buying stock in her, you're making a mistake. So, yeah, absolutely buying stock in Liv Morgan.
I'm going to buy Liv Morgan as well. I think she's going to make for she's going to have an interesting year going forward. She'd be a great candidate to win Money in the Bank this year.
Yeah, 100%.
I think that would be a good direction for her. I don't know that you would necessarily want to get her involved in big plans for WrestleMania. I think there's a story to be had for the story going through WrestleMania. I think has got to be the breakup of Judgment Day and the different directions that they're going to go in. I think that would be a good story for WrestleMania.
You know what though? There's a part of me that thinks that we could see Liv Morgan win the Rumble, and it's not necessarily somebody who I would expect, and I think that her and like Stephanie Vakir would be a great match. Or I mean, if she moves on, like you said, like Judgment Day could be either done by WrestleMania or it could end at WrestleMania. She could go over to SmackDown to challenge for the WWE Women's Title. Jade Cargill and her would be great as well. But yeah, no, I think that there's room for her to win the Rumble.
I don't disagree with you, but we'd have to wait and see. There is room for her to win the Rumble for sure. I think I will buy stock in her. Obviously, I think she's going to have an exciting year, but I do think there might be money to be made in dealing with the Judgment Day stuff first, and then going from there. I think her and I don't know what direction they go in. I think her and Dom are still a very good pairing, but time will tell. Speaking of this whole mess, number 10 on the women's list last year, where are you at with Rhea Ripley right now?
I don't see her figured in for anything big at this year's WrestleMania. I don't see a Rumble win. I don't see Money in the Bank. Like, again, Rhea Ripley's kind of established herself as one of the top acts in WWE in the women's division, but like she's tag team champions with Io Sky right now, which is great. I think that that's a good run for her. I'll say watching just because like I don't think selling stock in Rhea Ripley is ever a wise move either, because she can always surprise you with a a great feud or match or what have you. But yeah, just right now, like it just seems like it's kind of a cool down period, and they're kind of pushing Stephanie as this top women's act right now. She's currently involved in a feud with Raquel Rodriguez, so I think that there's other stories to be told at the top, and this is just her run as a tag team wrestler right now.
I'm gonna buy Rhea Ripley. I think I get to buy low on this in this current situation because I think there's the big match right now is Rhea and Io. I think Rhea Io is the match that you're going to be building towards. Now, you could say, oh, well, we can push that match to like a WrestleMania 27. Because I think 26 is this WrestleMania is probably a bit too quick for Rhea Io.
Yeah, I would agree.
I think there's more to be built there. And I don't think, and Rhea Io, I think, should be for a belt.
I also think that them being tag team champions kind of does elevate the tag division, and having them in the spot of a tag team match on WrestleMania could elevate a mid-card title match for the women.
But I do think the back half of this year, I could see probably Io winning back a championship and then Rhea Ripley going after that title in the back half of the year. That, I think we get the tag run for a while. I think that carries through WrestleMania. Then I think we break the tag team up SummerSlam-ish, and then one of them wins a singles title, and we have the chase in that point. I could see that being the arc for 2026 for Rhea Ripley, and that seems like an exciting arc. So I'm going to say I'm buying.
Okay.
Number 7 on the list from last year, Athena.
Man, this one's difficult because like I feel like for years we've been buying stock in Athena, and it's never fully fleshed out. Like, don't get me wrong, she's done very well for herself in Ring of Honor, current forever champion there in their women's division, and she's had glimmering moments in AEW this year. But they've all kind of seemed to just like wind up with her back at the spot that she was at when they started. So for me, like, I think I'm selling this year just based on the fact that like I haven't seen anything that would convince me that it's worth buying into again this year. Don't get me wrong, talented lady, and again, I'm entertained, but like there's only so far I feel like she can get as Ring of Honor Women's Champion. And now we're kind of getting to the point where I feel like that championship might be holding her down.
She's clear of 1,000 days, I think, right? Yeah,
oh, yeah.
She's quite well clear of 1,000 days. We're at diminishing returns points with Athena as the Ring of Honor Women's Champion, which is a shame because
it started as such an amazing thing for her to be doing,
and it's for her to have this reign as long as she's had it is very cool, and it's built up the opportunity with a fairly interesting young women's division in Ring of Honor. Taking that title off of her is going to be a big deal. This has to be the year that they do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the story of this year is probably going to be building to Athena's loss. And I don't know what AEW have planned for her afterwards. Personally, I think big things should be the plan. Like, her losing that ROH title should be the catalyst to push her to start winning titles in AEW.
Mm-hmm. 100%.
But I don't know that AEW is ready to pull that trigger. And I'm not sure why. Because I think the 1,000-day mark, once you got past that, the reign is ready to be toppled as a prize unto itself. So hopefully this is the year that they decide to do it. I thought it was going to be last year. I thought that she would be, competing for AEW gold at All In when it was Texas.
Yeah, I thought that would have been the direction. It would have made the most sense. Not to say that like Toni Storm and Mercedes Moné wasn't good. Like, it was great.
Yeah, obviously. But I'm surprised that Athena wasn't involved in that kind of picture at that point in time. So I'm not sure what direction they're going to go with her going forward. I really don't know. I'm going to sell Athena stock. It hurts me to do this because she is doing excellent work, but she's doing excellent work in Ring of Honor. I want to see her doing that work in AEW.
Yeah.
At this point. No disrespect to Ring of Honor. Number 6 on the list last year was Io Sky. Rylan, where are you on Io Sky?
This one's different from Rhea Ripley because, like, Io Sky had such a great 2025 in a sense that, like, she had 2 match of the year candidates between her WrestleMania match and her match with Rhea Ripley at Evolution, that, like, you kind of always expect her to pull one out at the end and you know, shine brighter than you thought that she could shine. But for me, like, again, what it comes down to is I think I'm just going to watch her this year. I think this is just a cool down period where, you know, we're building to, obviously she's another one that's, you know, a top competitor. She's a multi-time world champion at this point. And you know, like, again, like, I don't think I'd ever sell stock in Io Sky just based on the fact that, again, she's elevated herself to be one of those top contenders now. And somebody that we hold in that regard. So I will watch this year.
I'm with you. I'm gonna be watching. I think she's always good for some great matches. I think she's always good for some great feuds. I think her with the tag team titles makes a lot of sense. I think they're gonna want to run her as a tag wrestler for a while. I do think that the money is in her and Rhea, but there's enough juice in that assuming that WrestleMania is coming back stateside in 2027. Which
I don't think it is. I think it's Saudi Arabia. I'm almost 100% sure.
Right. No, 27 is Saudi Arabia, right? Because 26 is
Vegas again.
Is Vegas. Right. Yeah, 27 is Saudi Arabia. God, Saudi Arabia might have WrestleMania for a while. I genuinely don't know what we do with Io Sky, but I think, again, she's always in the mix, should always be in the mix for a title. I think she's established herself in that upper echelon of women's wrestlers in WWE. So I'll watch, but we will see. I'm hoping big things, obviously, but
yeah.
Number 5. I don't think there's any bad wrestlers on this list, to be clear. And I want good things for all of them. It's just, will the booking deliver? This one's an interesting one. Number 5 from last year was Stephanie Vaquer. Rylan?
You know what? Stephanie Vaquer has been one of the spots of Triple H's booking that has been good. Like, you took a lady who was super hot in NXT. You made her win all the titles she could possibly win. You brought her up to the main roster, pretty much crowned her world champion within 6 months. You did something really good here. You just took somebody who was getting good reactions and you just strapped the rocket onto her. I don't see that. I don't see that slowing down in 2026. I expect for her to have a really big WrestleMania match and WrestleMania moment. And I mean, like, I'm gonna buy lots with Stephanie Vaquer because they've kind of hit lightning in a bottle here, or struck lightning in a bottle. And I think that we're only going to see more of it.
I'm going out on a limb here, and I am going to sell Stephanie Vaquer stock. Not because she's not a great wrestler. She's an excellent wrestler. But a year ago, the NXT, like a year or two the day almost of when we're recording this, the NXT world title picture was Vaquer, Julia, and Roxanne Perez. And if you had given me 4 guesses as to which one was going to be the breakout for 2025, I probably would have said Roxanne Perez 4 times, but I would have had Stephanie Vaquer pretty comfortably third. I think everyone thought Julia was the huge deal. Vaquer came in as well, which was great. And she had a very, very good 2025. And I think that she has elevated herself to being that sort of championship material. I don't know that she continues to have this kind of hot streak going in 2026. My question would be, once she loses the title, is she still in that title picture for the rest of the year? And my guess, my premonition, this could be way off base, and I'd be happy if I'm wrong about this, is that she loses the title at Mania and then doesn't really push for it again for the rest of the year. That's my guess as to what's going to happen this year. But I'm hoping that I'm wrong. So I'm going to sell Vic Hair stock just because something about this feels like they're call it a complete and total shot in the dark. I feel like they're going to start cooling on her this year, and I'm not sure. We'll see. Time will tell. I think the big problem that we have in the women's division, the women had a great year last year, and so many of the top, quote unquote, top women in WWE are not holding the titles. And so the two people who are holding the titles, I do wonder how long WWE is going to have them continue to their reigns when, quote unquote, bigger acts are making a bigger push for 2026. We'll see. Hopefully Vic Hair has a nice long reign and gets some more title opportunities off of her loss, but we will see. But for now, I'm going to sell. This one's an interesting one. Number 4 from last year was Tiffany Stratton. Rylan, where are you at in Tiffany Stratton?
We haven't seen her for a while. We don't know if it's injury related or if she's just taking. I mean, she had a really big run on top, so she could just simply be taking some time to refresh the batteries. It seems like that's the culture in WWE right now, is they don't push them like they once did, which I think is good and healthy, and that's fine. Yep. She's another one that, like, I always feel like, man, if you're not buying stock in her, you might be crazy, but also, like, I don't feel like all of her 2025 was spectacular. Like the Charlotte match, to this day think was below average. Did not enjoy the build to it at all. And ever since losing the title to Jade Cargill, she hasn't been around. And I don't know. I mean, like, she very well could show up in the Rumble this weekend and kind of blow everyone's mind and have a nice stand-up performance. But, like, I think I'm selling stock in Tiffany Stratton this year. We'll see where she's going and what direction she's taking. I expect that she probably will hover somewhere around the mid-card in the women's division towards the higher world title picture. But the thing about having all these mid-card titles is you can have some of these women come down and win a U.S. title or an intercontinental title and still feel relevant and important. So, yeah, I'm still going to sell, though. I'm still going to sell.
I don't think I'm comfortable selling Tiffany Stratton stock. I'm going to watch. I'll keep my eye on it. I'll hold it, see what the numbers are doing. I think she's one of those people who could make, a big comeback. And I could see her, like, honestly, she is another sneaky candidate for the Royal Rumble win. Because they seem to be really big on her. And if she's healthy, there's something to be said. Like, her and Vic Hair could be great.
Yeah,
her and
absolutely.
Jade could be great. Like, you could push for her to win either one or to go for either one, and that could be an interesting feud. I do think her playing off of Charlotte didn't work, but I don't know that that's necessarily on either person. I just think it didn't click for some reason. So, not that I'm higher on the match than you were, but yeah, I'll watch Tiffany Stratton stock. Number 2 last year, Rylan, was Toni Storm.
Man, that's another hard one because, like, she's been on top for so long that, like, and I just said on the best and worst of shows that Toni Storm is the face of AEW, whether you like it or not. Like, she really, and right now she's kind of mixing herself up with the Orange Cassidy's of the world and doing some comedy stuff, which I think is really great. Definitely in her wheelhouse. Man, again, I'm just gonna say if you're not buying stock in Toni Storm, what are you doing? Like she's great. She's been great. I don't see a significant fall for her. I think they know what they have with her, and they're just going to continue to push her because why wouldn't you? So yeah, buying stock in Toni Storm for sure.
When the character works this good, you never need to worry. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
When you have somebody with this much, it's Matt Hardy in TNA, where it's like you've got the TV time, you've got this person with boundless creativity who seems to have a knack of making basically everything work in its own weird way. Why would you stop?
Mm-hmm.
So, AEW has the TV time. They've got this character that just seems to make everything better. Why would you stop? The Hollywood ending was one of the best matches. I didn't have it as my best match, but like, not for lack of trying, it was a darn excellent match.
Yeah.
The stuff that she was doing with Mina Shirakawa was excellent. Like, I don't know. The thing about Toni Storm is it's hard to predict where her year is going to go because it's hard to predict where her character is going to go, but it will be fun, and I'm looking forward to enjoying the ride. So, yeah, Toni Storm's one of the ones you always kind of have to buy stock in. So, I'll buy Toni Storm. Number one last year of the PWI women's list was Mercedes Moné. Where are you at with Mercedes Moné?
Well, I mean, she's been on this losing streak as of recently. Recently dropping the TBS title to Willow Nightingale, which, I mean, that's great. Like, love Willow Nightingale. From all accounts, she's been written off TV. So I expect that she's going to take a significant amount of time off. She had a long, strenuous last 2 years in AEW, 3 years. I don't remember exactly when she debuted.
Yeah, I can't remember.
But so I'm going to sell stock in Mercedes Moné. I think we're not going to see her for a significant portion of 2026. And if we do, I mean, I'll be happy to eat my words. I think she's been great in ring, and I think the character's really come around to where we were like a couple of years ago. We were talking about her worst on the mic, and it wasn't a perfect 2024 for Mercedes Moné. 2025 was a lot better, but again, like, with modern wrestling, we have companies that are realizing that sometimes you need to go away for a little bit for the people to kind of still appreciate you. And if you're constantly being pushed and shoved down our throats, like, it doesn't work. Like, I could see Toni Storm never getting that sort of heat. You know what I mean? We just talked about how she's kind of this perfect character for her. Mercedes Moné is a heel. Like, and at some point we're going to need a break from her. It looks like we're getting that. So I just don't see any reason to buy stock right now.
I'm going to watch with Mercedes Moné. And the reason I'm going to watch is she still holds a bunch of belts. So I imagine what we're going to get in the first half of 2026 is Mercedes Moné going on the indie tour and losing a bunch of them. Like, she's going to have to, at some point, probably make a trip back to Winnipeg, which hopefully I can go to lose the Winnipeg, because that was one of her belts, was the Winnipeg Pro Wrestling Women's Championship. I imagine she's going to lose that at some point. There's a performance where they're doing live music at the concert hall coming up. With the orchestra is playing wrestling themes as wrestlers come out to do their entrances. That would be a great time to have Mercedes Moné come back. To have the orchestra play CEO, because yes, please. But I feel like that will be her first half, and then the second half, who knows what we're gonna get? I don't know that she's gonna take a long time away from AEW. Yes, I do think she's gonna take some time, but like, gone from the wrestling, she just doesn't. Unless she's hurt, she doesn't go away from wrestling that long, and I do think that she is going to push hard for a good, strong second half. I think what we're going to get is we're going to get some really good matches. Like, I think around All In time, All Out, I think we're going to get some really good Mercedes matches with who knows who, but doesn't. I think we let the division cook for a little bit without her, and then she comes back and has some like killer matches. So I will keep my eye on it. So I'm gonna watch.
Fair enough.
All right, moving on to men's division wrestlers from AEW and WWE, but mostly WWE. It's a good mix, I think. Rylan, number 105 last year, but I did have to throw him in. This is mostly a nod to Vince calling his shot, which I think is going to be interesting. Where are you at on Sami Zayn for 2026?
I think I'm buying stock in Sami Zayn. There's just something about like don't get me wrong. We all have our feelings about the Royal Rumble being where the Royal Rumble is this year. But if there's any crowd that is going to give Sami Zayn the response that he deserves if he wins the Royal Rumble this year, it's going to be that crowd. And you know what? Like, honestly, like, again, we have our feelings about where it is, but like, it's going to, if that happens, it's going to be a moment, and it's probably going to be a big moment this year that we look back to throughout the year. I also think there's a story to tell with him and new WWE champion Drew McIntyre. Sami Zayn's never beaten Drew McIntyre, ever.
Yep.
And there's a great story to tell there. Drew McIntyre has started his year super hot, super great. After like a ho-hum 2025, his 2024 was a lot stronger with that big feud with CM Punk.
Yep.
But if there's one thing we know about Drew McIntyre is you never count him out. Because just when you think that he might be, toast, like he finds a way to show us that he's just as good as he always has been.
Well, he's a guy who they can always like you can heat up really quickly because he's so believable and he's such a good heel, which is it's strange to think about because he's such a good face too.
Yes,
but
he's really the whole package. Like you're talking like guy who can wrestle fast paced, methodical pace. He's jacked. He looks great, and when it comes to like being a face of the company, he's proven time and time again that he's willing to do that, and he's good at it. Like he did it throughout the entire pandemic, and we very much so kind of forget that this was the guy for the first start of the 2020s.
But we will talk about him in a minute. Back to Sami Zayn.
Sorry. Sami Zayn, I'm buying stock in Sami Zayn. Something tells me we're getting the Rumble win and the big WrestleMania moment this year. I feel like it's a story that they've been lightly building for a few years. This is the year to do it. And honest to God, I'll tell you what I don't want though. I do not want him almost winning the Rumble this year in Saudi Arabia and then finding his way back to the world title picture for the WrestleMania in Saudi Arabia, because I don't want Cody and Roman 2. We do not need a 2-year story with Drew and Sammy. Like this is the year to do it. So don't Vince McMahon this up. But I am definitely buying stock in Sami Zayn.
I gotta buy stock in Sammy. Like Sammy consistently is always he finds a way to bring some great. And the other thing about him is that he's had great matches with pretty much everybody in the main event scene. And the only people who he hasn't really had great matches with, he hasn't had the opportunity to. Like we haven't gotten Sammy Cody, and I don't know what you need to do to get that to be a thing, but I'm on board with that. Until the weird ending in front of a white hot Montreal crowd, Sammy versus Roman was excellent. We know those two have chemistry in ring and out of ring. Like the thing about Sami Zayn is that he works really well with the entire main event scene. So having him as a main eventer seems like a great idea. And also, God, he'd be a great face of the company.
Yeah.
Even for a brief period of time. Like, he is a great promo. He speaks well. He's fantastic in the ring. He's got so much indie cred. People love him. Yeah, I think Sami Zayn. I'm high on Sami Zayn. So I'll buy stock in Sami Zayn for 2020.
And you know what? For a company that's always seeming to be continuing to go back to the wrong side of history in the current world we live in, Sami Zayn would be the perfect representation of the right side of history to be the face.
Yes, wouldn't that be nice? 48 last year. very interested to see how his 2026 goes, because I think it's going to be it'll be very, not make or break, but like a very interesting 2026 ahead. Dominic Mysterio. Rylan, where are you at on Dominic Mysterio right now?
Buying stock. Again, if there's one thing that 2025 taught us, it's never count out a Mysterio to show us something that we never would have expected. While he's never going to be the wrestler his dad was, I don't think, he's proven himself to be more than capable. Also, the character work has been phenomenal. He's been super, super hot, not only in the United States, but going over to Mexico, he's become a mega star. Why wouldn't you buy stock in Dominic Mysterio right now? Like, I know that right now he's got a bit of a little injury. It's totally fine. That all that means to me is that he's going to come back even hotter because people haven't seen him for a little bit. I expect a big spot for him at WrestleMania, if not the retirement match with his dad. I think, honestly, that's probably the best direction to go. No shade on Rey Mysterio, but like, this is the year. Everyone's kind of leaving now. Like,
yeah, I think
if you can,
right.
and if you can have that moment with your son at WrestleMania, great, do it. But yeah, no, I'm absolutely buying stock in Dominic Mysterio. I will say, not something I would have said 2 years ago either.
No, I agree. If ever there was the perfect candidate for the Money in the Bank briefcase, this is the most perfect Money in the Bank candidate. An upper mid-carder heel who is widely, like, who is great at being a huge opportunist, can have good matches, but is like that sort of cheeky, smart, like, does what it takes to win matches, which is exactly what you wanted of the Money in the Bank.
Mm-hmm.
He would be a great candidate to, like, honestly, I don't know how you would do it, but if you wanted to give him a short run with the world title, he could take down Sammy.
He could, and he would, honestly, he's the perfect foil for a Sami Zayn.
He is. He gets the Money in the Bank and beats Sammy after like a glorious victory in a way that just, you could make that sing. There's always a worry for me if you're talking about a Dominic Mysterio, the worry being once he loses the IC title, what direction do they go with him in? Do they keep him hot in something, or do they keep him bubbling under in something else? What I would hate to see for 2026 for Dominic Mysterio is for him to get lost in the shuffle in a Liv Morgan, like Rhea Ripley thing or something like that. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I would hate for him to be, because the momentum is in that trajectory, in that direction. I say you just run with it and see what you can get out of it. I think Rumble is too early, but I do think in the back half of this year, Money in the Bank would be perfect for him. But like, and honestly, the thing about Mysterio is you could have him hold the Money in the Bank for a long time.
Yes. I would not do the thing. I think Sami Zayn could hold the title all 2026 if he was to win the world title, or most of 2026 anyway. Yeah. And you could do this right before the end of the year, and it would start off 2027 with quite the different outlook.
Yes.
Which is what we're doing with Drew right now too. So it does make sense to do that.
And honestly, like there are people who, because Dominic Mysterio as like a character assassin would be an interesting one too. Because for the faces who like you could come after and start talking some noise about, him and Cody would be a fascinating feud. Those two trading barbs would be really, really fun.
Oh yeah.
Him and Roman could be fun too.
Yeah.
Like there's directions you can go with Dominic Mysterio that are unique and interesting. I would be game for that. But buying for sure. Speaking of buying, we talked about him a lot already. Drew McIntyre, he was 46 last year in the PWI list.
Well, Listen, I'm buying a lot of Drew McIntyre this year. I think no matter what direction you decide to go at WrestleMania, whether it's what we talked about, Sami Zayn getting the win over him after winning the Rumble, or you just decide to ride with Drew McIntyre, I'm still buying. I would argue if we had done this last year, based on how his 2024 had gone, I would have bought into Drew McIntyre last year as well.
Yeah.
And not to say that, like, again, not all of his year in 2025 has been bad. Like he had a match with Damian Priest at WrestleMania that was one of the better matches on the WrestleMania card both nights. And he, again, while he hasn't been on your screens as much as he was the year prior,
sorry,
that's okay. When he has been there, he's used the time to his benefit. And has always kind of hovered in that main title picture. Had a really good feud with Cody to end the year to kind of get himself back up there. So yeah, I'm buying more because it was while it wasn't a shock to me they put the title on him at the beginning of the year, it was like a happy moment to see that guy finally get his due diligence and win that title again.
I'll buy Drew McIntyre. It's pretty easy to buy Drew McIntyre right now. He has the title, which was a big surprise. For them to do this quick a change in direction towards Mania is really cool. And like the directions it could lead to, the number of people who could feud with him would be very interesting. You could go in a lot of different directions with Drew McIntyre. And Drew McIntyre, another great character as a heel who can make it feel very, very interesting. I don't really care what direction you go with Drew. I'm just sort of interested in where how things end. So long as he feels like a dominant figure in some capacity, I feel like he's always in a good spot. So I'll buy Drew. Rylan, MJF.
I'm buying MJF this year. Absolutely. Again, ended 2025 winning back the AEW world title. And in 2026, here's the thing with MJF. His 2025, again, much like Drew's, was not perfect. There were moments of obvious, this is what this guy has been and always been, top guy performance level. But there were parts of that year that I just was like, what are we doing with this guy? And to start 2026 as the AEW champion, I expect him to run through he's already got a list of 7 guys who have challenged him. The Omegas, the Hangmans, the Swerves. He's got lots of programs that he can get into. I expect this to be a great year for him. I expect him to pretty much hold the title most of the year, if not the entire year. He's a guy who can do that and give you great performances. So I'm buying MJF for sure.
MJF is it's kind of the thing that everyone says about Adam Page is that he's much better in the chase than in title holding. And I think that's kind of true, though I do think that is just a problem of wrestling fans getting tired of faces too quickly, which is a problem in and of itself. MJF's kind of the opposite. His chases are always kind of whatever, but his championship reigns are always very interesting. I'll buy what he's doing with the title. Who knows the direction they're going to go in, but he is always good for being able to build a big face to take him down, and there's a lot of ways you could go with it. Honestly, you could revisit his stuff with Will Ospreay when Will Ospreay comes back. That would be
for sure.
Yeah, I'll buy it. Here's a fun one, Rylan. Number 24 from last year. Where are we going with Braun Breaker?
Man, it's funny because there's so many guys at this level for me that I'm like, how are you not buying it? I think he started the year really strong. CM Punk is not who he once was mobility-wise in the ring, but Braun Breaker goes out there and has a great match with him, and I think both guys, to that credit, get some credit for that. But he has learned the ability to maintain the pace that he can keep in the ring, but also be able to, when you need to kind of build towards big spots, be able to slow it down and whatever. He's shown a lot of improvement on the microphone. The intensity's there. I don't think he's world champion in 2026. I don't think we're going to see that. Maybe I'm wrong, and I wouldn't be mad at being wrong either. I think there are still pieces to be put together with Braun Breaker, but I'm going to buy into him. He's a future WWE champion, world champion. I don't not see it. He just seems like one of the guys that they're like, this is the future.
I hope you're right. What is it about Braun Breaker that gives me pause? I don't know. Because like you'd think the direction coming out of he pinned CM Punk, you'd think that would be the direction, right? And he's pinned CM Punk at Survivor Series. You'd think that would be the direction, would be him going after that title. And yet, that's not. Is that where we're going?
I think this year he's going to have a really big standout performance in the Rumble. I think we see him a Final Four guy. I think that there's money in him getting some bigger wins before you crown him the world champion. There's guys you could go through, I think, on the roster that would be able to help elevate his stock even higher than it already is. I think the work he's done with CM Punk has been really good. It's been some of the better work that CM Punk's done in the last couple of years. Promos back and forth have been really good between each other. The in-ring stuff has been good. But I hear the pause. I hear what you're saying. Like there's a pause for him. I just don't. There's something about him that doesn't quite seem ready yet.
But the thing about it's not that he's not ready per se. Because in ring, certainly. And I think the stuff with the vision was uneven, certainly. And stop me if you've heard this one before. A Seth Rollins story got derailed because Seth Rollins got hurt. Like, Jesus. The guy has the worst injury luck in the world. But it's only when he's on heaters, too. It's always when he's on a heater. Anyway, I'm going to watch Braun Breaker in 2026. I hope I'm very wrong. He is a person who I would strap the rocket to. Something about it makes me believe that this is going to be a slower year for him as they build him to be that guy. And I don't think that's the right answer, but like,
hold on. I will say you have convinced me to watch him as opposed to buy into him this year. Absolutely. I don't think that there is. I disagree with you, though, that like building him a little bit more isn't the right move. I think that it is. I think that there's been moments where you're showing, hey, like this guy. There's been moments where you're showing like, hey, this guy's got something to show you. Much like last week, Vince and I reviewed the 98 Rumble. And The Rock was a character that, while he was also in the Intercontinental title match, he was the final guy in the Rumble with Austin. And within a year, he was the world champion. I think that there's still time for Braun Breaker and few moments where I think you build him a little bit more. I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
He'd be an interesting one as like, because he's won a tag championship, right?
No, he's won the Intercontinental title.
Right. Oh, he hasn't won a tag. He'd be an interesting candidate for a tag team run. But I think what you do for him, I think the path for Braun Breaker in 2026 is get the pieces ready for him to be a Grand Slam champion. Let him go on a U.S. title run. Let him go on a tag team run. Don't necessarily don't talk about it, but build that up so that when he eventually wins that world title, you're like, oh wow, he's a Grand Slam champion. He's not even 30 yet. Like, put the pieces together.
I think the only guy they've ever done that with was Kurt Angle.
Yeah,
but now
exactly.
it was in Kurt Angle's first year is the only difference.
Yes,
that doesn't matter though. Doesn't matter.
But I'm saying that would be the direction I would go with Braun Breaker in 2026 is like, don't advertise that you're strapping the rocket to Braun Breaker, but like get us ready for Braun Breaker to be like, and let him be able to be like, you know what? I've done everything else. Now it's my time. so that come like Mania 27 or SummerSlam 27, we're like, oh yeah, Braun Breaker's going over and he's gonna wreck shop. Especially as you've got some of these like older stars holding on to these things for a little bit longer, you can have a year where you start to build him. Speaking of another person, number 15, Rylan, CM Punk.
I think CM Punk, despite a few road bumps in 2025, had a pretty positive year. The road bumps being I was not impressed with him going to Saudi Arabia after the statements he had made. He had some ho-hum performances throughout the year. I thought his match with John Cena was not very good at all. But that being said, I thought his match with Gunther at SummerSlam was a lot of fun. I think he himself has kind of settled himself into this role where he is the elder statesman of the Raw locker room, but also being the World Heavyweight Champion. I don't think he's had a bad run as World Heavyweight Champion. Again, just had a really great Monday night main event with Braun Breaker to start the year. Next week, he's having a one-on-one match with Finn Balor in Belfast, which should be a really great match. I think you would think that him and Finn Balor would be able to really show the world what they got. I expect him to just do big things and to get a big WrestleMania match. I expect him to hold the title until WrestleMania and probably lose there. That just seems like the best spot for him at this point. I think that I think Punk's got 2 years left in him. The last year is going to be a lot less frequent than we've seen him in 2025. I think this will be his last full-time year. So I am going to watch CM Punk. I don't quite want to sell him yet. I'll sell in the final year.
I think I'm going to sell CM Punk. The story for me would have been for 2026 for CM Punk to get that night 2 main event.
Sure.
You could still do that, but my question immediately is who? And that's the hard question for me. It's like, what is the path for CM Punk to get a night 2 main event at WrestleMania from now till then? The name that comes to my head is Roman Reigns, and I don't know how you bridge that.
I still think we're getting Roman and Cody.
I don't think you're wrong about that. But like, that's my question is there a person on the roster who you could, and I don't know if there's an answer to this, but is there a person on the roster who you could say comfortably, him versus CM Punk is main eventing night 2? Because I think what's interesting, what is a thing about Sami Zayn McIntyre doesn't feel night 2 main event.
No.
As much as I'm excited about it, Zayn McIntyre doesn't feel night 2 main event. You could easily give that spot to the women's division, though I don't think either Vicaire or Cargill is a direction I'd want to go for night 2 main event.
Oh yeah, no.
I think night 2 main event shouldn't be Cody versus Roman, because especially for non-title, boy, would that irritate a lot of people. So this is the year to get CM Punk that main event. And if you get him the night 2 main event, I think that's a story unto itself. I just don't know what direction they do to do it. And if not now, then when? And I agree with you. I think I don't think CM Punk is going to have a bad year in the ring in 2026, but I do think he's going to probably lose that World Heavyweight Championship, barring something very interesting. Now, could I see CM Punk turning heel to salvage his championship and having that be a story? Maybe? I don't know. Just spitballing, but everything points to me saying that CM Punk's going to have a rough 2026. But there's so many interesting story things that make me hope that's not the case. But like, that's the question that I would have to pose is if the goal is to get him night 2 main event, which I don't know if it is, I don't suspect it is, but if that's the goal, how do you get him there? Because that is to me the most interesting thing about CM Punk for 2026. But after Mania, I have no idea what CM Punk's 2026 looks like. Because that's the thing about CM Punk's 2025 was kind of all over the place too. It started to coalesce after Mania a little bit, but who knows what direction they're going to go to. And post-title CM Punk, what's the story there? So unless you, I don't know, because you can't retire him yet. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the direction is. I just, something about me tells me that this is going to be a weird year for CM Punk. So I'm going to sell.
Okay.
14 on the list last year was Obafemi. Where are you at on Obafemi?
After the performance with Cody Rhodes at the last, what was it, Saturday night's main event?
Yeah.
Yes. How do you not buy into this guy? Like, he's had a great 2024. He had a great 2023, great 2025. Like, this guy's been white hot ever since they got him. You know, like, he's been a guy that the crowd has easily been able to start to believe in, whether he's a babyface or heel. I'm buying lots of stock in Obafemi. I think he's already apparently poised to have a big WrestleMania performance. Who that's against, we don't know yet, but man, I almost don't care. Like, I'm excited to see it.
Could you go Obafemi versus CM Punk? Because that's not a night 2 main event, though, is it?
No, there's definitely, like, you need a little bit more introduction before I think you give him up. Like, especially when you've got a guy like Braun who's been on the main roster for 2.5 years and he's not ready yet. I think, not to say that I don't think Obafemi could pull it off or anything like that, but there's a little bit of exposure you need with that audience, which isn't always necessarily an NXT audience.
Yes. Obafemi's a hard one for me because I just don't know what they're going to do with him. You know, I think they're going to strap the rocket to him, but what does that look like? Because I could see for Obafemi is I could see him having like a mid-card title and then just holding it for a while and building up that way.
You could put him in a spot with Dominic Mysterio and have you could do the double turn at WrestleMania. You could do, because let's be honest, Dominic Mysterio has been getting a babyface reaction for a few months now. Obafemi, if you want to like just kind of have him come in as a mild babyface and then start this ruler run on the main roster, have him, just destroy Dominic at WrestleMania to the point where Dominic comes out of it the babyface.
Yeah, but you could also have him beat up Ray too in the advanced.
Sure.
Obafemi could be an absolute monster. You know what? I'm gonna buy Obafemi because I think they're gonna find a title picture for him to run roughshod over, and I feel like that's the path for Obafemi. But I hope that's the case. He'd be, if he's wasted on the main roster, I don't even know what I would do. Anyway, number 12 from the last year's list, interestingly enough, Joe Hendry. Where do you see Joe Hendry going in 2026?
That's difficult because I'm like not the biggest Joe Hendry fan. Like, I think his ring work is okay. I think he's got a really awesome social media presence. I think that the crowd really loves him. And I think there's, something to be said for that, because this is a guy who's gotten himself over. Despite, how he's been booked, or like, not to say he's been booked bad in TNA, but like, he's a one-time world champion. The title reign wasn't particularly significant. He's always found a way to kind of keep himself relevant. He had a big WrestleMania match this year, even if it was, a squash to Randy Orton. He's now working for the WWE. So honestly, I probably just buy stock in him because I think they know that this guy is money. And it's just about finding a way to book him. I suspect that he will spend a significant portion of the year on the NXT roster, and I think he'll be used properly there. So I'll buy.
I'll watch Joe Hendry. I would be more apt to buy. Joe Hendry to me it's interesting. Joe Hendry is LA Knight 2.0. Guy who got himself over more as a character than a wrestler. I do think Joe Hendry's better in the ring than LA Knight is, but that's kind of the direction I could see them go. And the problem is LA Knight really they never really got behind him. They were willing to put him in the spots, but they were never willing to pull the trigger on LA Knight.
Right.
And that's what gives me pause about Joe Hendry, is they're probably willing to give because Joe Hendry will be in the Royal Rumble because they'll want, the reaction of Joe Hendry in the Royal Rumble. Joe Hendry will get some of those opportunities. I do agree that I think probably NXT for him for a bit. I could see him on the main roster. I just don't know what they'll do with him. That's my big question is, what do you do with Joe Hendry week to week?
My concern is it's just going to become this generation's R-Truth.
Yeah. And God, they wasted R-Truth. I just don't know. Because Joe Hendry's one that you can heat him up pretty quickly. And I think they believe that, but he's very much a strike while the iron is hot. The iron's hot right now.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like you should.
And listen, not to interrupt you, Kyle, but I will say there was a moment in time last year where the iron had kind of burned out on him, and they found a way to strike it again. And I would say that you can't keep doing that. I call it the Dolph Ziggler effect. Dolph Ziggler was one of those guys who was always great in ring. His mic work was always more than capable, and they would heat him up just to let him get cold again. And there's a diminishing returns. There's only so many times you can do that before the crowd doesn't give a shit about you anymore. And you have to be really careful with a guy like Joe Hendry, because while the character is one that the crowd can get behind, you can sing a song, that's not going to last forever.
No.
And he's also not a guy who is particularly super young either. He's been around for a while. Yeah. So you really have to be careful.
And that's my thing is it's a very interesting LA Knight comparison, because LA Knight's another guy that they brought in after a long indie career. They brought him in, they had him doing weird stuff for a little bit. Then he heated up really quickly, way quicker than they were ready for. And they put him in the area, but they never quite I think there was a period of time where LA Knight was a main eventer, but never a person who they were going to give the title to. So that's my question for Joe Hendry is, are they willing to go, is Joe Hendry going to win even the Intercontinental title? And I have no idea.
Yeah, it's kind of a mystery.
If they wanted to keep Mysterio heel, he'd be a good candidate to beat him for the IC title.
Sure. Man, you've actually switched my opinion on this one too. I'm going to watch because I don't know.
That's the thing. I don't trust it. 11. This one's fascinating to me. Kazuchika Okada.
He's going to be another watch because he kind of had a pretty good 2025. You got to see some character development with Okada. While yes, you're still not getting a ton of talking. He doesn't need to.
No,
he's enough of a character where he can just come onto the screen, say a few words, end it with bitch, and people still seem to love it. I also think
he's great in the ring.
I was gonna say, I think starting the year retiring Tanahashi at Wrestle Kingdom, I feel like the sky's the limit. But it's also again kind of interesting because we don't really know where this Don Callis family thing is headed at this point, right? Don't get me wrong. If there's anything I can say coming out of 2025 is Don Callis's group is getting more and more interesting as the day goes on, simply because I want to see matches between Takeshita and Okada and Fletcher and Okada and Fletcher and Takeshita. That's a great main event scene in that group. And God, they're just, it's bubbling right now.
If the Elite is turning face.
And they have. So, yes.
And they are face. Okada is an interesting one who you can have be caught in between the two. And there's a story to tell. And honestly, you can go in either direction. Because you could really have them they could go in either way with Okada. Okada as a face is an interesting thought because it hasn't really been a thing in AEW.
Right. It hasn't. He's been a heel the entire time.
Are they willing to go with Okada as a face? And if not, that's fine. But that would be the interesting one. He's a watch for me too. I think this is the year where we decide what Okada is going to be. Is he going to be the big match machine who we think, or is he going? Or are they going to be willing to put him in that like not quite main event, but like work rate event that they seem to have bubbling under? This one's an interesting one too. Number 10 on the list last year was Will Ospreay. Now, Will Ospreay, I believe, is still hurt.
Yes, he is still recovering from neck surgery. I believe he had. Look, again, like a guy who, as soon as the bell rings, how are you not buying stock in him? The question is going to be how long is he going to be out for? Because there was rumor a few months ago that he was coming back closer to the beginning of the year. It's a neck surgery. Like, I'm sorry, but and also it's a neck surgery. Is he going to come back and be the Will Ospreay that we know? Probably. Like, I don't see him changing his style significantly, but I also think to a certain degree, to be Will Ospreay forever, you need to remember that there's only so many neck surgeries you can have. And there's only so much the fan base should be asking of this guy after a neck surgery too. Me and Kyle are big fans of flippy matches. I don't want to see Will Ospreay land on his head for the next 15 years. No. You know, like, I think there was a time and a place for it, and I think it's over. I do think it's over, and I do think that you need to be, especially Will Ospreay's what, in his early 30s, late 20s?
He's got to be 30. He's clear of 30 now.
Regardless,
he came up so young. That's the thing
he
about,
did,
especially with British guys. He's 32.
Okay, so look, I just think at this point we need to, because Will Ospreay has proven that he's more than just a guy who can do crazy spots and whatever. I think when Will Ospreay returns, I would like to see him lean into the selling portion of a babyface run and show how good of a wrestler. Because man, we know he can do it.
And especially like he has grown technically as a wrestler.
Yes,
he is
100%.
A very good technical wrestler, and I could see him going more in that direction going forward.
And I really, for his health and benefit, hope he does. I'm not saying that we need to see something so drastic as when Stone Cold Steve Austin returned from neck surgery and he had a completely different style, but it would, I think, behoove a Will Ospreay to be like, you know what, it's just Dynamite tonight. Maybe we don't need to do a 450 splash through 6 tables. That being said, again, who's to say? And also, like, this guy is going to control his destiny just based on what he wants to do and the style he wants to work. He always has. As just somebody who's knowing he's coming out of a scary situation like that, I just hope that, you know, I hope this is a positive year. I'm going to buy just because I'm curious. I'm curious to know what we're going to see from him this year.
So All In this year is in London again, is it not?
Yes.
Like, the stars align pretty nicely, don't they?
They do. They do.
I'm trying to remember their pay-per-view list for this upcoming year, if they even have. They don't always release a lot.
I believe next is Revolution in March.
Yes, Revolution's in Revolution is, so the ones they have
Vancouver, I believe.
No, Revolution's in Los Angeles. Okay. Dynasty is in Vancouver.
Okay.
And then All In is at Wembley. All In at Wembley, Will Ospreay, MJF for the title. Like, it kind of builds itself, doesn't it?
It does. It does. But you know what's funny about that, Kyle? Man, we've been saying that for a few years now. I know last year was different because All In was in Texas, and that's fine. Yeah. But we've been kind of saying, and like the question is Tony Khan going to continue to kind of let this simmer and let this build?
I think off of neck surgery, you have to recognize that, like, okay, now we're in a place where we can't just say Will Ospreay gets to be Will Ospreay forever. We have to decide. And I feel like that's a good time to do it. I feel like that's the best time to do it, in fact. So that I'm going to buy it based on that alone. Now, there's a possibility that, you know, his recovery goes slowly and he's not able to come back for that. And then we're talking about because that's, you know, August, end of August. And then we're talking about a very different 2026 for Will Ospreay. But assuming he's healthy and ready to go by end of August, which I think is a safe bet.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah, I can see that. And then if he's the champion for the rest of the year, yeah, that'll be a good year if he's the champion for the back half of 2026. Yeah, I'm gonna buy. I just can't I can't help myself with Will Ospreay. I can't not. Speaking of people who will be coming off injuries in 2026, Seth Rollins was number 8 last year. Where are you at with Seth Rollins? Tiffany. If you didn't catch her on thing, if you didn't catch her on, like, she so
I'm kind of with her in a sense. Like, don't get me wrong. I know we got a program coming with Braun Breaker, and I'm sure that'll be, again, electric once it happens. If there's one thing we can always count on Seth Rollins for, it is that he is a pretty great in-ring performer.
But here's the question that I think I don't want to interrupt you, but like, Braun Breaker kind of has to go over in that feud, yeah?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So B, if Braun Breaker has to go over that feud, where does Seth come off of that feud?
It's the point next point I was gonna make is that I think there's no way to not have a year where you need to sell Seth Rollins, because like I see him having this like right now he had just started this heel run with this group, did his little I'm injured, I'm not injured thing throughout the summer. Then he got hurt.
That work turned into a shoot real quick.
If you want my 100% honesty, I am thinking that this is going to be the year we're going to start to see Seth Rollins start to wind things down, in a sense that I don't think we're going to see him as often as we normally would. I think that while he's been a top guy for a long time, I don't see it being a situation where he's going to be in the main events. He doesn't really need it. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's probably a few world title runs in his future. Could happen. But like, I think this guy would benefit from kind of working in the undercard for a while. And kind of getting himself into a prominent babyface position again.
I think Seth Rollins, the benefit of Seth Rollins is because he's Seth Rollins. You could have him pop up and start a feud with like a Roman Reigns or a Cody Rhodes without, like, you don't need any build for that. You know what I mean? Like, he could just, like, you could have him just show up during Cody versus Roman and watch the two of them work through all of their demons all at once. Mm-hmm. He doesn't need to do anything. And you could have that be an interesting story. I don't know what the direction for Seth Rollins is after he presumably loses to Braun Breaker. I genuinely don't know where you go with it. It's sort of an interesting place with him and Becky is like, I don't mind giving both of them some time off. Even after Seth Rollins is healthy, I just, because where do you go with Seth Rollins? Where do you put Seth Rollins?
Well, I mean, we didn't talk about Becky Lynch. I'll answer that question for you. She just won the Intercontinental title back from Maxine Dupree. I think we're getting her and AJ Lee at WrestleMania. Yeah. That just seems like the probably the best direction for her. And then you're right. She could go away for a while. She's going to be filming a Star Trek TV show, so she'll need that time off as is.
Yeah. Seth is just an interesting one where it's like, could I be wrong about this? Because you can heat up Seth Rollins against any of his old demons at any point, and it would be interesting. Him and CM Punk could be a thing down the line.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of one of those forever feuds that you can always go back to it.
Yeah. I think that's the thing with Seth is that he's always in that weird position. Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna sell Seth Rollins, but I'm not. I think Seth Rollins is gonna be good this year for a couple good feuds, but I really don't know what we're gonna get out of Seth Rollins in terms of like I'll say this: PWI next year, Seth Rollins is gonna be a sinking ship. I don't see him being that like high level main eventer in 2026.
No.
So I have no idea what direction you go with him. So could be interesting for some good stories because he's a good storyteller, especially as a heel. But yeah, I don't know. I'll sell him. Number 7 last year, Swerve Strickland.
Well, I mean, I'll put it to you this way. Swerve Strickland's another guy who, if we're talking about faces of AEW, he's certainly one of them. You could argue that for Will Ospreay. You could argue that for guys like an Orange Cassidy and what have you. But Strickland,
Adam Page
I mean,
is another one in that camp.
Absolutely. MJF.
Yeah.
Strickland is a guy that took the time off that he had in 2025, completely and utterly got himself into phenomenal shape, changed the theme song over, refreshed himself. This is a guy who I only see bright things for. However, because I expect that MJF is going to hold the title until either a Will Ospreay or they heat up somebody to take the title off of him I'm going to watch Strickland this year because I don't see him being the guy to take the title off of MJF, but I could be wrong. I mean, in 3 months, you never know how hot somebody can get. And a guy who has been the hottest guy in the company and the top of the company before, it's a matter of time before he gets himself into that position again. But I am going to watch this year.
I need to see Swerve Page 4. I don't know how you do it or how you build it, but I kind of like if they're both not doing something and it's like a number 1 contender match that is on a random Dynamite but just gets way too hot for what you're doing, that would be a good triple threat too. MJF versus Swerve versus Page, with MJF trying to stoke those two back into fighting each other. There's too much, like, I can't help but buy Swerve Strickland. I can't. Like,
fair.
I can't help it. He's just too entertaining a character and too whatever. It's like, even if he has a quote unquote, like, even if you're not going for the title, you can find something for him to do.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to be entertaining. I feel like I'm just going to always be on board with Swerve with whatever he's doing. I'd be disappointed if he didn't have a big year. Even if it's not involving titles, I'd be disappointed if he didn't have like some great matches and like a big year. Anyway, moving on. Number 6 of the list last year was Jey Uso.
Ooh, man. Halfway through 2025, it was selling Jey Uso. I am going to continue to sell them, though. Like right now, the Usos have the Raw Tag titles, which is fine. I think that's the role that he's best at. I am praying that we are not getting another Usos WrestleMania match. Because they've been hinting at him being a heel. I don't think the act works as a heel. No. And if there's anything I learned about last year, I don't trust him to do it and do it well enough to the point where, you know, like I'm not talking about this in August going like, man, this has just been another disappointing heel run or whatever. It's funny. This time last year, I was not thinking about Jey Uso in any sort of regard, except for a guy who was kind of like bubbling on them towards the main event scene. He ended up winning the Rumble, and we all kind of got excited about it. And then it just all kind of fell apart, and it hasn't really picked itself back up again. I have two answers to this. I'm buying if he stays tag team champion and the Usos just have like a nice year of tag team run where they have different opponents and they have great matches. Because if there's one thing we know, when the Usos are side by side, they can have great matches. We know this. But I'm selling if they are going to continue the solo experiment, because It's not working. And we figured that out last year. I hope that I hope that they've just kind of abandoned it.
Yeah, I don't know. I gotta sell Jey Uso. I have to. Here's again. This one is for you if you want to try to do a rescue mission of a bunch of people real quick. Find a way to heat up Usos versus New Day again.
I don't know how you would do that.
There's a way, man.
I'm sure there is, Kyle, but I don't know. In 2026, I feel like we're so far removed from their glory in the top of the tag division that I feel like it would almost feel forced. That's all.
Yeah, except for the tag division needs something.
I don't disagree with you, but I also think that we have some more up and coming talents that we can see pushed in that position. And I think it would be nice to see the Usos work with some of those younger groups, or again, bring some of these groups over from SmackDown. I would love to see the Usos versus the Motor City Machine Guns. I know it looks like DIY is done, but Fraxium, I would love to see the Usos and Fraxium. That would be great too. And those, you could do longer builds with those and longer feuds with those. And if you're gonna, honestly, if you're gonna make Jey Uso a heel, just do it as the team, because they work as a heel tag team. It's totally fine. I'm not bothered by that, but I just think that this whole solo run has been one that we'll look back on and be like, it's not like he didn't earn it. It's just that when given the opportunity to take it, he tripped a lot and stumbled a lot. And we all kind of watched it unravel before our eyes in 2025. And if I was Triple H, I would not be confident handing him that opportunity again. So, but yeah, no, it's rough for Jey Uso right now.
Yeah. Number 5, by the way, we're not going to talk about because I don't know what to even say, but number 5 is Hiroki Goto, because 2025 is a weird year, man.
Hiroki Goto. I did not expect this.
Well, Hiroki Goto was the World Heavyweight IWGP World Heavyweight Champion.
He was for a period of time.
And by the way,
ended.
If you want, yeah, I know, but if you want the hilarious incoming train wreck that is this Street Fighter movie, Hiroki Goto is playing E Honda, which is admittedly believable casting.
I will say I don't know what your thoughts are on this movie. I'm actually kind of excited that they've leaned into the silliness of Street Fighter.
They have leaned into the silliness in a huge way.
And honestly, I think that benefits that movie more than them trying to play it serious.
Maybe. It could also just be terrible.
It could be. It could be.
I feel like it might be worth watching in theaters regardless. We'd have to cover this movie for what was this? It's coming out in October. I just for the wrestling hilarity of it. And also Jason Momoa for some reason being Blanca. He's going to be in that movie for 3 minutes because there's no way they're going to pay Jason Momoa what he's worth to be Blanca for more than 3 minutes.
It's fair.
Good Lord. Anywho, who knows? I don't have much to say about Hiroki Goto. So we'll move on to number 4. Number 4 was Adam Hangman Page.
Another guy I'm just going to watch because again, People make the cliche argument that he's better in the chase than he is as a champion. I disagree with that. This guy's never really been given the championship run he's deserved.
Not at all. His championship reign has been weird.
Yeah. So that being said, I'm just going to watch him this year. I think we could get him and Swerve reigniting that feud that we know that is one that will provide a great match.
Yeah,
you could do something different with him. You could maybe make him a heel again. I don't know. That didn't really work the last time, or at least it didn't work the long term. I think
this would be a good time to reunite the Elite with Adam Page in it.
Sure, you could absolutely do that.
Because Elite, if you were talking Anarchy in the Arena, Elite versus Don Callis family would be the direction I'd be going in.
Sure. absolutely. But I am going to watch Hangman Page.
I will also watch him. I feel bad about this because he is so very good.
Yeah.
But he's the most maddeningly inconsistently booked person in AEW. All time, one of the greatest feuds in the company's history with Kenny Omega in that chase for that title.
And then again with Swerve Strickland.
And then again, one of the greatest feuds in the company's history with Swerve Strickland. And he was the guy to end the reign of the hated Jon Moxley, who, had go away heat for half the year, which is crazy to think about for Jon Moxley.
What happens when you wrestle 30-minute matches with a 55-year-old Adam Copeland? And that's your main event of an AEW pay-per-view. That's how you get it.
Over Tony Storm. Ryan May, what are you doing, AEW? Anyway, we can revisit that another day. But Jesus wept. Adam Page he's such a wild card. I have no idea what they're going to do with him at any given time. He could be the biggest face in the company, or he could be sort of gone. They could have him drinking again. I really don't know what they're going to do with him. But God, honestly, could him and have the Elite come back together, and could him and Omega have one more run with those tag titles? We need to heat those tag titles up again. You could do stuff with it. You could make it work. Anyway, watch, because I don't know. Number 3 last year was Gunther. Where do you go with Gunther?
Buying. Definitely buying. If there's one guy who I'm very confident is going to, whether it's the next year or 2 years, elevate himself to one of the WWE greats, it's going to be Gunther. I mean, there's only one guy who's ever going to be selected to end John Cena. It looks like we're also going that direction with him and multiple legends. I've said it on plenty of our shows. I think he should be the guy to end Jericho. I think he should be the guy to end Styles. I don't think he should be the guy to end Rey Mysterio, but I'm also not fully against it if that's the direction you're going to go, simply to get Dominic the babyface spot.
Yeah, there's a few ways to get Dominic to babyface, and that would be one of them.
Right. He could be the guy to end Punk. You know what I mean? There's lots of options with Gunther. So Orton. I'm buying Orton 100%. So there's no reason to not buy into him, because there's so many directions you can go with him. And even if you decide to cool him down and put him in the mid-card scene and have him do a feud with a guy like a Dragon Lee or a Penta or whatever, they're going to be great matches. They're going to be great matches and innovative and fun.
There's a title versus career run that you could do if you put the title on Gunther, where you try to give these legends one more kick at the can.
That's a good story,
putting their career on the line. But you got to put your career on the line to do it. Yes, there's something to that. I feel like there would be something to that for sure. But Brock would be another one.
That should happen. That it's either it should be Brock should be finished by either Gunther or Obafemi. I don't care which one it is.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry, I don't want Brock on the roster. But if he's going to be there, I think he needs to be finished by one of those guys, because there's something to be said by being, again, the guy to end Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar's been a guy who you've had in that era of top guy for over a decade.
Yeah. I feel like, to be honest, tapping out Brock Lesnar would be something.
Oh, yeah.
That would be meaningful, even if I don't want to see him on my TV screen again. I'll buy Gunther. I love Gunther. I think he's an amazing wrestler. I think there's a lot of ways you can go with him. The retirement tour would be an interesting one, but I am just glad to see him get to wrestle. The only thing that would make me sad about the retirement tour is I do want to see him wrestle some fast guys too, because God, him versus Zayn was always very fascinating. And that would be he'd be another one who could take doesn't need to retire Zayn, but could take the title from Zayn and then do the retirement stuff towards the end of the year. But anyway, number 2 last year was Jon Moxley. Where do you go with Jon Moxley?
I'm going to watch Jon Moxley. Jon Moxley was my worst wrestler of 2025 for various reasons. He has had, admittedly, a hot end to 2025 and put on some pretty great performances in the Continental Classic, as well as winning the Continental Classic. And that's not what I would have expected that direction to go. He was the guy who, when we had our 4 final guys on the night of World's End, I said it very adamantly was not going to be the guy to win, and he absolutely was. It looks like he's going on this babyface run that is eventually going to lead to him getting turned on by the Death Riders, which honestly, I don't know how much I care about that, but we'll see how they book it.
They're all good. That's the only thing is, like, I'll say this, Jon Moxley versus, like, on its face as a booked match, Jon Moxley versus Claudio, I don't have a ton of interest in that, or Jon Moxley versus Pac. Those will be great matches. That's the only thing about it. Is like,
certainly
they're too talented for it not to be good matches. I'm gonna buy low on Jon Moxley. I can't blame him for what happened to him in 2025. I think he got put in a thankless position of, like, we need somebody to run this. Like, we're committed to the bit here, and we can't stop this thing. You have to keep it going. And I think he did the best he could.
Yeah.
With a bad situation. And I do think the Continental Classic is kind of a reward for, like, an apology for, like, we're sorry, John. We effed you in a really unfortunate way. So here's a Continental Classic. But I think there's too much excitement for what Jon Moxley can deliver against too much of this roster for me to be like, again, if we don't have a direction for Jon Moxley's a great direction to go for people who don't have directions. Cough, cough, Hangman Page, cough, cough.
Fair.
Because, God, we could revisit that.
I don't know how much I want to see that right now. I think they've gone to that like enough times where, like, I'm good with that not happening for at least another year. But again, you're right. There's so many directions you can go. You don't. That doesn't have to be the one. There's so many other ones.
And I feel bad for Renee, but Jon Moxley needs a good old fashioned death match against a couple people this year.
Sure.
So we'll see. But yeah, I'll buy Jon Moxley just because I think there's something to Jon Moxley without a direction that feels more interesting than Jon Moxley with one, which is very counterintuitive. But
yeah, fair.
Number 1 last year on the PWR charts. I don't even know where to go with this one, so I'll let you go first on this and see where I end up. Cody Rhodes.
Okay, so all the reports right now, given that Cody Rhodes has lost the WWE title, are that we are expecting to see a significant character shift, but not a heel turn.
Yes.
Here's why I think that's wrong. Why are we doing this? Why are we doing this? Like, let's be honest. At this point, Cody Rhodes has been on top of the WWE world title picture for the better part of the last 4 years. He's always been featured very high. He's had great matches. He's had great moments. But I don't want to see him anywhere near that title picture in 2026. But I also think that there needs to be refreshing with the character to begin with. So this hesitancy to pull the trigger, like, it's not like he's the top of the merch sales. Like, I'm sure he does well, but he's not that guy. So, and also, even if he was that guy, making him have this cool edge to him, making him heel, that might stick around anyway. This is the era of wrestling where we cheer the heels sometimes because they do such a good job at making us hate them. That being said, man, it's a difficult one because, like,
it is.
I don't want to sell Cody Rhodes because Cody Rhodes has always found a way to kind of keep himself relevant over the last, like, fucking decade. even when he was just doing an indie run, and even when he was just on BTE, like the guy kept himself relevant in the eyes of the pro wrestling community. So with that being said, I'm going to buy low with Cody Rhodes. I hope that they do something that interests us enough to kind of keep him interesting. But I also really hope it's a heel run, because at this point, I think the fans have waited long enough to see it. I don't want him to be that guy who, like John Cena, goes like, well, it's my last year, so now we'll give it a shot and we'll see how Triple H could fuck this up. Like, honestly, like if you've never watched the television show The Boys, this is the time to do the Homelander, Cody Rhodes run. It's also a nice reflection upon what we see with the real world, where we could, mirror these things and have them be poignant but also be entertaining in a pro wrestling landscape.
I'm gonna buy Cody Rhodes as well. I think you've talked me into buying Cody Rhodes. Not that I was gonna sell him. I was leaning towards watch coming to this, but like there's enough interesting directions with Cody Rhodes that you could go. And I think the big thing is like they're never gonna like management believes in Cody. Mm-hmm. So they're gonna give him the opportunity to do something. I just don't see it failing. I could see it being kind of hit or miss. Cody Rhodes is always good for a solid hit or miss. But like I don't see it going badly. And Cody can still go in the ring. He's still got a great character. He's got good charisma. He can build in some interesting feuds. There's directions we haven't gone yet with Cody, which I think taking the title off him allows him to go in some interesting directions. Honestly, he'd be a good candidate for let's have him do a mid-card run.
Yeah, 100%.
Like he'd be a great open challenge person. Mm-hmm. Like a U.S. title open challenge would be a really good thing on a Cody Rhodes.
I 100% agree. Him working with the likes of like Carmelo Hayes or your Ilya Dragunovs, guys like that, and putting the shine on them, they don't have to beat him. No. They just have to look great in there with him, which we know Cody Rhodes knows how to do.
Yes. So that's, I think, that would be a good early direction for Cody Rhodes. Yeah. God help me if they go back to him and Roman. I just like, I think the thing for me is I don't know why you would. And also that feels like if you're going to Cody Roman, that feels like a Cody heel turn, doesn't it?
It should be because that's the only direction.
Yeah.
No, I don't think that I don't think Roman's gonna do the heel thing right now because he's not there enough for that to work. People do genuinely have come around on him in a sense that we saw the big, long, vicious title run. We appreciate him for what he's done. So I don't think keeping him or making him a heel does anything for his character. I think it does more for Cody, honestly. Because at least it's a layer to Cody we haven't seen.
Yeah. Actually, honestly, that would be another good direction. It's a weird direction, but I could see Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins as a tag team. Like, I don't know how you quite put it together, but that could be a fun 2-month thing.
Sure.
Where they run with the tag titles, because they would be a fun tag team as heels. But
absolutely.
Regardless, I think the directions for Cody are interesting enough that I'm always going to keep some shine on them, and he's going to get the TV time to do it. Mm-hmm. So hopefully it'll be fun, but I'll buy Cody Rhodes, even though it's a little worrying of a prospect right now.
Totally fair. Totally fair.
Before we go, because we've talked for quite a while, give me one off the board one that you are buying.
Ooh. Bronson Reed. Bronson Reed is a guy who I don't think gets enough love for the character development he's been able to do since joining the Vision. He is, for me, obviously, Braun Breaker is the star they're building with that group. Although, I mean, why put Austin Theory in it if you're not going to build to something with him as well? I just feel like that's going to be I was a double agent the entire time for Seth Rollins type situation. Logan Paul, I think, is in the group simply to just have something for him to do. because like he's recently revealed that he signed a new full-time contract with WWE. So I think because of the fact that he's not going to be presented as an attraction anymore, you need something for him to do. And honestly, I feel like that is having him in that group is the least offensive thing for me that you could do with him at this point, because I don't feel like he's going to be getting big wins over, stars like he has been over the last few years. And if anything, he'd be a great guy to feed to everybody. Like Logan Paul's a guy who is not or is disliked pretty much broadly around the wrestling landscape, although some people do have their opinions about him in a positive light. But like he would be a great guy that you could just feed to baby faces to in the lead up to getting to guys like Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker. But going back to Bronson Reed, I think that this guy has got so much more potential than they've actually discovered yet. I think they have yet to tap him. He's a guy I want to watch, but also am leaning towards buying into, because the tribal thief thing was great. His Twitter presence, which I know that we kind of scoff at that thing, and now in 2026, but at the same time, I think an online presence helps out a lot with the overall package in this era of wrestling. I don't know if you would agree with that.
Yeah, that's fair. Jacob Fatu.
Sure.
He's made a comeback. I think that I'm ready for Jacob Fatu to be like, you strap the rocket to him and let him go crazy. Like, here's the thing. Like, you want to talk about an interesting like Haas dynamic with two guys. Jacob Fatu versus Braun Breaker has my attention as a potentially interesting match.
I also think that this is a year where you have enough guys, and you'll laugh at this, Kyle. I know you will. You have enough guys. You could do a proper draft. You could mix up some of this roster with guys and freshen it up and do this. You also have a believable enough character in a Nick Aldis and Adam Pearce. However, somebody has recently pitched the idea of a Chris Jericho coming in and removing one of those guys from their role and being a general manager. I also think that would be pretty good too. If you're going to do something with Chris Jericho this year, that's almost a role I could see him in where you don't have to see him wrestle every week. You see him have his few matches and what have you. And it's something for him to do afterwards where I feel like he's a guy capable enough to do it.
Yeah, I could see that. He's also like, he's interesting enough as a character that you can make that work, but you don't need to see him every week. Anyway, yeah, that's what we got for 2026. 2025 was a weird and kind of rough year for wrestling. I'm hoping 2026 will turn some stuff around.
Yeah. I think that without the big elephant of John Cena's retirement tour looming over the year, you're going to see a lot more new players. They've already started to show us that with signing guys like Javon Evans to Raw and moving up Fraxium and stuff, and some of the highlighting that they have done of some of the young talent on the cusp of being more featured. I think we're going to see a year of a lot of up and comers getting the main event, or not main event slot, but just a spot.
Yeah,
we'll see.
In terms of roster age, I do think WWE's rosters is healthier than it's been in a while. Because it had been pretty old for quite a while. And there's still some like older guys on the roster, but you're seeing a lot more guys in their 30s and even some in their 20s getting some prominent roles. And I think it's a very productive thing for WWE.
Absolutely. Kyle, I don't know about you, but I think this is definitely a show that we should definitely make yearly, because it was a lot of fun to kind of play this game and see where we're at. Because not only do we have our predictions on our best of show that we put out on New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, but this is kind of a fun way to look at guys individually and get a grander scope on what we think is going to happen throughout the year. So again, thanks for coming up with this great idea. I look forward to doing this again next year and seeing where we were at. Yeah. That'll be fun to look back on as well. With all that being said, Kyle, why don't you send the people home happy for Rumble weekend?
Thank you so much for listening all the way to the end of this. We appreciate each and every single one of you, and you have been walloped. Happy rumbling, y'all.